Weissman was deputy director at the time when they first started under Leslie Caldwell, who was the chief of the Enron task force when it was first created in the collapse of Enron. So they set about and targeted Arthur Andersen to begin with, the venerable accounting firm.
So they're investigating Enron?
Yes.
And they target Arthur Andersen?
Yes.
For what?
For destroying evidence, is what they called it. But they did it by making up a crime, by combining two separate statutes to create a crime out of something that wasn't.
She is a 10-year federal prosecutor who has handled over 500 criminal cases under several presidents, folks. Her name is Sidney Powell. She was on with Mark Levin, who you just heard, on January 27th, talking about the prosecutors who are investigating the president. And we are honored to have her today on the Klein Time program. Sidney Powell, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on the Klein Time radio show, Sidney. So good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and really appreciate your time. I know you're busy. She's got a great book out, folks. It's been out for some time, Licensed to Lie. It's a bestseller on Amazon, #1 bestseller. But, Sidney, before I get into the crux of the special investigation, Mueller and Weissman, and where they come from, Enron and the Andersen accounting firm and those prosecutions, I would like to get your opinion, if you don't mind. Today, federal authorities in New York City or New York have announced that they are investigating Trump's inaugural committee. Now,
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, my question is, Sidney, I'm just a regular guy. I don't really know the federal justice code. Does the federal prosecutor need probable cause and permission from a judge to conduct an investigation? Do they go to a grand jury? What's the impetus for their investigation?
Well, I mean, Mr. Mueller, ever since he's been appointed, has been investigating absolutely everything. And frankly, even Mr. Comey, as soon as he saw that Mr. Trump was running a campaign, started investigating 4 individuals with no probable cause or anything. He picked out Michael Flynn, Papadopoulos, Carter Page, and Manafort, and just opened files on them and started investigating. Well, he had no basis to do that whatsoever.
Now, as you are learned, your professional experience, your learned craft, is that a norm? Are they operating rightly under the guidelines of the Justice Department, or are they going rogue here with those kinds of actions?
They're going rogue. I mean, if you don't have at least reasonable suspicion to think that somebody's committing a crime, you should leave them alone.
Well, no, I would agree with you on that, but is there any application they have to make? In other words, can they just wake up one day and say, that Klein, let's check out that Klein guy?
Yep, that's essentially what they can do. They can start digging on anybody they want to start digging on if they're that corrupt, and that's apparently what they've been doing.
Wow. Sidney, your book, Licensed to Lie, focuses on the Enron prosecutions and the Andersen accounting prosecutions as well. You point to that as the beginning, not the beginning, I should say, but really, the beginning of the exposing of this underbelly that some people call the deep state, the swamp, or what have you. Obviously we don't have a lot of time today. I certainly would love to have you back in the future because this is a topic that's not going anywhere anytime soon. But just as a quick overview, if you don't mind, on the topics of Enron and the Andersen accounting, basically the Mueller and Weissman targeted these groups. They targeted them for ruin or targeted them to bring them down. Is that correct?
Well, that's when it first came to my attention that our law enforcement agencies, the FBI and the Department of Justice, were willing to do anything to destroy a company and to send individuals to prison, because in those 2 cases, they literally made up criminal charges by piecing together parts of different statutes to make a crime out of something they damn well knew was not, because they both were unprecedented prosecutions. You can't prosecutors can't just take parts of different statutes and make a new crime. That's what the legislature's for, not the prosecution. But they did it, and the judges let them get away with it. So Arthur Anderson and 85,000 jobs were destroyed, and then they did the same thing to 4 Merrill Lynch executives by putting together parts of different statutes, making a crime out of something that wasn't, and indicted conduct that wasn't even criminal. It was a legitimate business transaction. And they sent those 4 individuals to prison for almost a year. And in that case, it was even worse because not only did 4 individuals go to prison for a year, they hid the evidence that showed they were innocent. And they knew that's exactly what they were doing because they had yellow highlighted it before the trial in full recognition that it was exactly what we needed to defend them.
So they did it. So they basically prosecuted these people fully knowing that they were innocent. Why would they do that? I mean, just they don't get bonus. Do the prosecutors get bonuses or?
Yeah, they got bonuses. They got the Attorney General's Award for Excellence.
Oh, jeez.
And they went from there to either 7-figure salaries in international law firms or to Deputy Director General Counsel of the FBI for Mr. Weissman, Acting Attorney General for the Criminal Division of the Department of Justice for Mr. Friedrich, high up in the Department of Justice for Catherine Rumler after she also convicted Skilling and Lay, and then she became Chief White House Counsel. Leslie Caldwell, the first director of the task force, became Loretta Lynch's Attorney General for the Criminal Division of the Department of Justice, and a multi-million-dollar job in an international law firm.
All right.
Yeah, they punched their tickets big time.
So then I have to ask this question. It's almost self-evident, but I have to ask anyway. These people are obviously engaging in activities at the very minimum are shady at best. If they know somebody to be innocent, they prosecute them anyway. They put the full weight of the government behind their prosecutions. At some point, how do they get? They're being promoted by people who are part. Is this all the deep state? In other words, they're all in on it. Basically, is that it?
Well, Mueller has been protecting Andrew Weissman for more than 20 years, and he had a role in handpicking all the people on the Enron task force. So did Michael Chertoff. So did Larry Thompson.
Well, so No, but my point is, like in other words, at the end of the day, these prosecutions were upended. It turns out these people were innocent, and yet Mueller, Weissman, as you pointed out, were moved up. They benefited greatly by it, and they were moved up by people who must have known that they prosecuted innocent people. So. That's where led me to my question that are they all, Loretta Lynch and, are they all part of this little club down there that we're not aware of?
Well, Loretta Lynch is definitely part of the club. She and Weissman and Leslie Caldwell go way back, I think, to the Eastern District of New York. And Robert Mueller was, I think, Comey was Southern District, New York. All of those guys are in a very elite little club, a very tight club.
What, Sidney, as you look, your book that chronicles the prosecutions of Enron, Anderson and County, you look what is being done now with Mueller and Weissman, the 2 individuals that were in charge of those investigations, now as special investigators on President Trump since he was elected. As a former federal prosecutor, what can be done to rein in this rogue behavior? Isn't there somebody? Most people think the Attorney General is in charge of these 2, that they have to answer to him or her. Is that the case?
Matthew Whitaker needs to step up and shut down this baloney into the Trump inaugural committee and everything else. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I think a lot of people would agree with you. Where do you see this going anywhere? It's been 2 years now since they started this investigation. There has been no proof of any Russian collusion whatsoever. You've had some people go to jail over offenses that had nothing to do with Russian collusion. What from your perspective? Obviously, you're outraged by what has occurred previously and what very well may be occurring right now. As a former what would you like to see in place to prevent this kind of abuse from happening in the future? Is there anything that can be done?
Oh, yes, there are a number of things that can be done. In fact, Harvey Silverglade and I are working on a book together on reforms for the criminal justice system, and one of the things that needs to happen is abolishing the notion that prosecutors have absolute immunity. They need to have some skin in the game, but right now they're completely protected by the legal system. They can do anything they want to you, including knowingly sending you as a completely innocent person to prison for the rest of your life, and you have no remedy against them whatsoever.
That's incredible. I don't know if most people listening, I know I didn't, feel the full breadth of what you just said. Having said that, as a regular citizen, Sidney, can you just give me your personal take on what you're witnessing right now with this nonstop abuse and power to go after a sitting president, not as the author, the writer, the former federal prosecutor, just as Sidney Powell, American citizen? How does this affect you, or how does this sit with you, I should say?
It is without a doubt the most egregious abuse of the political and legal process we have ever witnessed in the history of the country.
Wow. That's
and a complete distortion of the rule of law.
And unfortunately, if we had a media that would just report the stories as they are, more people would be aware of what actually is happening. Do you have any expectation that the American people, not that you have a crystal ball, but just really going by intuition, do you think the American people are going, if not haven't already, are going to catch on to what has been going on?
Well, certainly anybody who saw my segment with Mark Levin the other day has caught on, and it's on my YouTube channel, so I'm hoping that everybody listening will share it with their friends and literally spread it all across the country. And maybe we can even get Fox to re-air it, because people have suggested that also.
Well, I did have an opportunity to see it. It was a phenomenal. It was chilling, actually, to hear the interview, but it was very insightful. On YouTube, would folks just search Sidney Powell?
Yep, Sidney Powell on YouTube. Go to my website, SidneyPowell.com. It's the first linked segment there. And, yeah, we just need to get the word out because nobody else is doing it.
Well, Sidney, I thank you on such short notice for taking time out and talking with us today. She's got a great book, too, folks, License to Lie. You can find out more about that on Amazon.com. But, Sidney, I would like an opportunity to perhaps reach out to you in the future, as this,
sure.
Obviously, this topic is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, and your expertise is just, quite frankly, invaluable.
Thank you. Anytime. I'm happy to help. I appreciate being on, and the book reads like a legal thriller, so it's not dry.
Thank you so much, Sidney. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Sidney Powell, folks, is the License to Lie. I wish we could have had 2 hours with her, but I'm looking forward to having her back because, again, at the end of the day, we get the reports from the media. Some people say fake news. Other people say it's the real news. I like to go to the source. And there's no better source, in my opinion, than a former federal prosecutor is well-versed in what these two cats are doing. And every American should be outraged that it's happening in this free republic called the United States of America. We got a break we got to take. We'll come back on the other side and finish up today's Klein Time program. A couple of programming notes I'll share with you, as well as a couple of great sponsors to the program as well. Chad M. Sherwood is one of them. And we'll be back here on News Talk 1400 WOND, South Jersey's News Talk leader, in just a moment.
South Jersey's News Talk 1400 WOND.
It's time for Shep on Fishing with South